Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back from lunch. Hope you feel fresh, full of energy, because now we have the next speaker. And before we go on, I just want to be sure that Esbjerg, are you ready?
Esbjerg.
They are waving. Good. Good, Esbjerg. And Copenhagen, are you ready?
Copenhagen.
Copenhagen, you're ready? Thumbs up. I guess you are. And Microscopium, ready?
Yeah, we're ready here.
You're ready? Very nice. Okay, now I will welcome our honored guest from Canada, Nathan. Some of you maybe know him because he's actually helped you a lot. He's been sitting down at the business booth and talked to a lot of you guys here. And Nathan is from the University of Manitoba in Canada, and he's assistant professor. And he wants to talk about the social economic business plan.
Yeah.
A good one.
The opportunities at the social entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's going to be perfect. So please welcome Nathan.
Thank you. Okay, I didn't see a Copenhagen clap. All right, there we go. So we're on day 3. Is this microphone working? Yeah? Okay, good. We're in day 3, and I can sense the energy's starting to fade a little bit because you're focusing so much on your businesses, which is great. That's what we want to see. So today I want to tell you about some of the opportunities available to you in social entrepreneurship. Okay? And we'll try to make this a bit of a high energy. I have way too many slides to get through in 30 minutes, so we have to be quick pace with this one. So yes, I'm a professor at the University of Manitoba. And let me just tell you a bit about myself through my life collage pictures here. So my first degree was in neuropsych. That's the brain up there. I was excited to go to grad school in neuropsychology and learn more about the brain and get into medicine. But I took a year off and went to Costa Rica. And it was actually on a side trip to Nicaragua, bottom right picture there. House very similar to that, where I had this midlife crisis at age, I think I was 21, 22. And what was going on there is these people, the way they created income was by collecting salt from the beaches. So when the tide went out, they'd collect the salt from that and sell that. And that was their only source of income. And so they could barely afford water, but because I was their guest, they bought some water for us. It came in a truck, and there was this pitcher of water on a table a little shorter than this. And then there was this cute little 3-, 4-year-old boy running around. And I just remember this moment when he bumped into that table, and there went the pitcher, and the water fell onto the ground and soaked into the dirt floor. I was like, wow, okay, I know how all your neurons are firing right now, but what you need is economic development. You need something to raise your standard of living so that spilt water isn't a big deal and that you can afford food. So there was a guy down there doing work in that area. He said, Nathan, go back to North America, learn everything you can about business, and bring it back. So there was my motivation, go back to Canada and get a degree in finance. And as I was doing that degree to pay for my university, we do that in Canada and America, and so we have to find summer jobs to pay for that. My first taste of entrepreneurship is I ran a painting company, which sounds really boring, but I had 20 employees and I was actually earning more money in a summer than most people were in a year. I'm like, hey, this entrepreneurship stuff it's good. Yeah, I like it. But because my degree was in finance, I went, after I graduated, to investment banking, and we dealt with $1 million plus clients, investing their portfolios in all kinds of assets to help them be sheltered from taxes. And as you can imagine, that doesn't fit very well with my original motivation. Lasted about 1.5 years there, and said, I got to get out of here. So this is right during the dot-com bubble. Of course, I'm going to start an internet company, which is what I did. And of course, 3 months after I started, the dot-com bubble burst. Okay? So we lose some money. That's part of entrepreneurship too. Lost 1 year of my time, but learned a lot of lessons. Also chased me back to school, so then I did an MBA focusing on entrepreneurship. And I was so excited about this whole area that I thought, man, I got to find out more about the research in this area. So I started doing a PhD and completed that in entrepreneurship. And while doing that, kept my hand in some businesses, helping consulting-wise small firms grow. And the last one sitting there is an energy technology company, which due to some geopolitical reasons might also be failing pretty soon. So that is me, my collage, and you can see motivation, and we're going to come back to this at the end of the presentation. From a research point of view, what I want to show you is that traditional business, this for-profit business model, is starting to merge with the social sector, with social entrepreneurship. So traditional and social are becoming one and the same. One of the examples here is one of the first projects I did was looking at multinational enterprises, and when they get into these lesser developed countries, how they can partner with small entrepreneurial firms. And there's a lot of spillover effects there. The one thing I want to highlight, I won't tell you about the project, but in the end, when you're thinking about the social value creation of your business, what are these outcomes you're looking for? Okay? And so for economic development, do we really want to see everyone driving a Lexus, paving all the roads to every village? Does everyone need a TV? Does everyone need access to internet? Maybe. That's questions you have to answer. For me, I really like Amartya Sen, who won the Nobel Prize with his idea of development as freedom. And he had these 5 freedoms: political, economic, social, transparency, and security, sort of as what everyone deserves. Other project, okay, I'm looking at these partnerships. I got to figure out, how do firms partner with each other? And especially when you're dealing in developing economies without the legal structure that we're used to. What was nice is I went to Calgary, that's where I'm from in Canada, and 90% of our oil and gas companies are located in this city, or they're headquartered there. In fact, they're headquartered probably within a 7-block radius, and it's a highly networked city because everything's connected by what we call these +15s, these walkways that connect all the different buildings. And so what we found there is that really it's not legal contracts, it's not lawyers that help protect these inter-firm relations, but it's reputation. Which was nice to see. And so the Calgary example provides some evidence for us how we can create social value in developing economies as well. Third project, wrote a book on telework. Does everyone know what telework is? Is that familiar here? So the other way is virtual work, or you can think about working from home. And so we definitely in the book don't recommend full-time work from home, but part-time working from home, or peak shifting, where you work, say, from 8 to noon, and then you come into the office. Okay? And so there's definitely a business model behind that. You can create a lot of profit as businesses, be more innovative. It's better for your employees to allow for telework. But there's also a huge social value creation. And what the book looked at was the carbon credits that businesses could claim by reducing the commutes that their employees had. Okay? So again, traditional and social merging. And the last one I want to bring up, partly because it's a map of Canada, so I can explain where I am. So Manitoba is this middle province in the middle of the country here. Winnipeg is where you see that little cluster. You might have heard about polar bears at Churchill. That's up in northern Manitoba. Can't say I've been there, but that's maybe what we're known for. And then I'd say my home province is Alberta, where you see all those dots. And that's really the economic engine of Canada right now, largely because of the energy industry. And I'll just say Winnipeg, I think our good motto would be, we're in the middle of everything and close to nothing. Okay? So a city of about 800,000 people, but the next closest city is Minneapolis, which is an 8-hour drive away. Anyways, this project was looking at unmanned vehicle systems. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but when we think of unmanned vehicles, we usually think of Predator drone planes flying over Afghanistan or Pakistan, launching missiles into people, right? Not exactly social value creation. But what we're doing in this project is creating a national center where we bring together all the different businesses and universities and government research institutes to try to develop unmanned vehicles for commercial applications. So how could we improve mining safety? How could we prevent forest fires with unmanned vehicles? And the center actually did get launched, and it's been running fairly successfully for about 3 years. So again, merging traditional and social value creation. All right, so that's me, my background, and hopefully you're getting the point here that traditional and social is starting to merge. Let's briefly look at what this whole buzzword, social entrepreneurship, is. Everyone seems to be talking about it. It really came up out of about the 80s. We also think of the civil sector. You can also think of it as non-government organizations. But what do we really mean by social entrepreneurship? So first, let's get a definition of entrepreneurship. Some people think it's just starting a business, but for me, it's much more behavior, and it's a behavior that captures a process of taking an opportunity and combining it with resources to create value. Very simple definition, but that's what entrepreneurship is. So then you can imagine social entrepreneurship, it's not nonprofits making money, it's not for-profits doing things to show that they're not evil, but it's this combining of resources and opportunities to create value with high social returns. Okay? So try to keep that in mind for your businesses as well that you're working on right now. What are the social returns you're creating? So the main difficulty, I think, in social entrepreneurship is measurement. You know, what is profit? How do you actually calculate what the social value of something is? And to give an example, last night, actually 2 nights ago, I went on the internet and I said, okay, if I had $1,000 to invest, what could I do with that from a social venturing point of view? So I went to all these different websites, and I think I have this memorized now. So for $1,000, I can save 40 acres of rainforest in Brazil. Okay? I can also plant 1,000 trees in Africa. I can buy 40 goats. Okay? I can save a quarter of a whale. Quarter doesn't really help us much, does it? I can fix up half a classroom or provide 20 cataract surgeries. How do we start comparing these things? Is the vision for 20 people worth a quarter of a whale? Right? If we can fix up that half classroom, what are the spillover effects for that with the education that can provide? So you can start seeing how in the social area it's difficult to figure out what exactly the value creation is and how we can quantify that. The other big problem we have in social entrepreneurship right now is because it is such a hot area and so many people are getting into it, it's difficult to get money, right? And I should qualify that. It's not difficult to get money, but you can't just say, I want to do good, give me money. It's what is the business model, what impact are you going to have? So you really have to bring a business model into your social venture now. And I think the previous 2 talkers, yesterday and the day before, also mentioned that, right? These for-profit businesses that are having this social value creation. On the other side, we got the traditional businesses, as I was showing you in my research, moving to social value creation as well. And I'm linking this together with this idea of sustainable development. And so sustainable development is where we're meeting the needs of this generation without compromising those of future generations. Okay? Very simple definition. So in meeting the needs of this generation, yeah, economic development, helping people out of poverty, giving them jobs, but without compromising future generations' needs. So what about the environment? How does that play into the picture? And what we've seen in the last 5 or 10 years is a highly rich sustainable development opportunity environment. Okay? And so it doesn't really matter. If you're socially motivated, great. You can create a synergistic venture where your motivations match up with the opportunities in the environment. But if you're purely profit motivated, you're still going to be in this area because that's where the opportunities are. And I call these ventures opportunistic social ventures. So really their motivation isn't probably the greatest, but they see that that's where the opportunities are. So just as a little break here, what we have is the young, beautiful face of social ventures, which now need sustainable business models. And we have kind of the old, tired face of traditional business looking at us, and yet they have to consider social, sustainable development and creating social value. And so the 2 faces are 1. How many people see the 2 faces? Pretty good. Copenhagen, a few. Okay. Well, I'll help you out with that. So we have the old, tired face looking at us, the young, beautiful face looking away. And the only reason I really put this in here is I try to put it in every presentation I give. And so I was trying to fit it in somehow. So, okay. All right. So now that we see that social and traditional are starting to merge, what we want to start seeing are what are some of the opportunities. And so let's develop a very simple framework of the opportunities, the resources, and the entrepreneur that's going to bring them together. And the one thing I've been telling some of the groups that have met with us too is always think about scalability. I don't care if it's social or traditional entrepreneurship. How can you make your business potentially grow exponentially without having to replicate the resources needed each time? Okay? That's the idea behind scalability. So think big in those terms. So we have bigger opportunities, we have bigger resources, and to balance these things, we need bigger entrepreneurs. Okay? So on the opportunity side, well, on the social venturing, opportunities are everywhere, unfortunately, because wherever we see pain, that's where we can provide a solution. So since we're in Denmark, I pulled up the website from the Copenhagen Consensus, where a bunch of experts got together and figured out what are the 10 biggest problems facing the world and what could we do to fix these. And so I encourage you to go look at that. You can download the report. It actually details some potential solutions to fix these problems. But just stop and think, let's look at malnutrition. Every year, 5.4 million children die from malnutrition. Okay? So it's just a stat we throw out, but 5.4 million, talk about an opportunity to try to change the world. How about, this one surprised me, 2.5 million people still die every year from air pollution. From air pollution. I'm not talking carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases, but just from air pollution, 2.5 million people. And then the big one, if you want a big opportunity, over 1 billion people don't have access to drinking water. Right? So 1 in 6 people in this world don't have access to drinking water. Huge opportunity there. But let's move away from just straight social venturing opportunities and think about opportunities that are available to us here. So maybe a lot of you are actually going to end up working in a company. Maybe the entrepreneurship thing, starting something new isn't for you. You can still be a social entrepreneur and an entrepreneur in the company through corporate entrepreneurship, right? So where these companies start venturing and they're trying to create social value. I put up here pictures of the two poster childs of probably anti-social value creation. Walmart, which everyone likes to complain about, but they are greening their supply chain, they're greening their operations, and greening their product offerings. Forget about what their motivation is behind this, because it's not that socially created, but the fact is they're doing it, right? So there's an opportunity there if you worked within a company like that to help with that. The other picture is probably what Canada is known for, my home province of Alberta, and that's the oil sands or tar sands, right? Dirty oil. But I can tell you, all those companies working up there are trying to reduce their environmental footprint. They know they have to, otherwise they're not going to be allowed to work up there anymore. So reduce oil, reduce carbon footprint, work more with the indigenous people to help with spillover effects. So that's one way, corporate entrepreneurship, opportunities there. On the new venture side, huge opportunities to supply these companies, right? So you could provide the social value creating solutions to these companies and start a new venture in that realm. And then the final area is competing. Whenever we see a change in the environment, new firms always percolate up and usually take over the incumbent. So that's what I want to talk about a bit now. So this move to sustainable development, to social value creation, makes the opportunity environment ripe for new firms to start up. So to give you one example, when we look at disruptive technologies, this is Clayton Christensen's work on the innovator's dilemma. And what he did is he looked at the disk drive industry of all things. And every time we saw a change in the format standard for disk drives, the incumbent firm lost its position. So the dominant firm in the marketplace, every time it changed, was overtaken by a new firm. And the incumbent firm had all the financial resources. They had the supply chain. They had the customer base. And yet it's a new firm that always seems to overtake that when we see these shifts in the environment. And so technologically, look for these discontinuities out there when you're trying to identify opportunities, right? So going from transistors to the microchip, or from steam engines to diesel engines. And so think right now, technologically, what's happening out there in the world? One thing that hit me as I was just reading that the internet now houses 2.4 zettabytes of data. I didn't even know what a zettabyte was. But apparently that's the equivalent to 700 billion DVDs. So that information sitting there on the internet, that's a technological change. And that creates a lot of opportunities for new businesses to somehow use that information that's there. The other one I'll just mention that I was just reading in the Times. Within the next 2 years, they figure that 3D printing will become affordable for every house. So right now, we go to machine shops for 3D printers, that can actually print an object. Can you imagine every house having their own 3D printer? And imagine the opportunities around that. So now you can actually download your product. Okay? Just let your mind go with that for a while. But anyways, you're probably much more aware of some of the technological changes happening, so keep your eyes open to those, because where changes are, opportunities exist. Of course, beyond technological, the three main sources of change are technological, socio-political, and political, regulatory, and socio-demographic. And those have stood the test of time for about 60 years. So whenever you see a political regulatory change, it might be at the international level if we're talking about carbon credits. It might be at the regional level if there's a smoking ban, or maybe there's a tax put on cars to drive into the inner city. These are all changes that allow new firms to capture these opportunities. Socio-demographic, you can think about the greening of consumer demand. On the demographic side, in North America, we have these baby boomers that are retiring. So we have the graying of the population. Huge opportunities popping up there as well. So always being aware of these three. And what you even can do is plaster those onto a table. And so in this case, I was thinking, okay, well, technology, mass production of solar cells. It's becoming more affordable. That's a change. Political, carbon taxes are being adopted at a regional level. Socio, the green consumer demand. So now can we start thinking of businesses that might provide a new product or service there, possibly take an existing product and find a new market for it, given these changes. And the fourth one, and this is just me, this isn't the entrepreneurship field, but I'm adding the natural environment as a source of change. Historically, I think the environment changed too slowly to provide economic opportunities. But if climate change is going the way we're thinking, I think the natural environment might also provide opportunities. One example is back home. We've been having a lot more issues with flooding, river flooding for us. And so you got historically the sandbags that we've used for diking. But now new companies are coming along with the mega sandbag. And I think this is a European technology, actually, is a dike that you fill with water. So you just roll it out, fill it with water. You instantly have a dike there. And even taking applications from the military, this is a structure they use to create bunkers. They used it a lot in Iraq. You fill that with sand, but you can also use that for diking now. So again, another source of opportunity, the change in the natural environment. All right, resources. Doing good on time. Big resources. The first thing I want to say to you is for new ventures, whether they be traditional or social, is you can do a lot more with less now. Okay? And so Coney 2012, just show of hands, who's heard of this? I'm looking there to you. Okay. So forget the politics behind it, because I know there's a lot of issues there. But think about this, 90 million downloads of that video in 2 weeks. Okay? The week after it was released, 5 million tweets about Coney 2012. So talk about getting your message out there for cheap, right? There's not a lot of dollars behind that marketing campaign. So that's one thing. Marketing-wise, you can really use the social media, and if you have a social value creation component to your venture, you can also work on the heartstrings of people to spread that word. Employees, those are other resources you got to bring into your company. Nice thing is if your business has some social value creation, the younger people, you guys I'd imagine, want to do more than just work. You want to feel like you're providing something back to society. Right? And so you can tie people in and get employees that way, as well as the retiring generation. Now they're getting to their sort of second career phase, and they're like, okay, we've made our money, now we'd like to give back something. So again, another source of employees. And the final one is assets, and this is for traditional or social ventures, but you need a lot less to start up a company now. A lot of it is thanks to outsourcing. So it used to be we'd have to have an HR, a human resources department, a finance accounting department, but we can outsource that. So we have very lean models for startups now. That said, we still want money. And so on the social side, we have many examples of this, but this is probably the biggest one, is the Gates Foundation. So we've got Warren Buffett's money and Bill Gates' money together. It's a nice combination. And they've given out over $26 billion in grants already. Okay? But the key is, again, when they review the grant proposals, they're looking for ventures that are getting into partnerships, that have maximum impact, and that use innovation to accomplish their goals. So it's not just, yeah, no, that's a good idea, you're trying to help the world, but there has to be a business model behind it. And even if we want to look at all we care about is profit type of people, so our venture capitalists, right, they're even getting into the sustainable development area, social value creation, just because that's where the opportunities are. So here's a graph of venture capital investments in clean technology, which got up to around $4 billion in 2007. We had a bit of a market correction there. And the final one for gathering resources I just want to highlight is we're now in the age of what we call alliance capitalism, where firms are always partnering with each other. And so this is just an example of a project we did on the ag biotech industry in Canada. But you can start seeing when you map this out how interconnected these different firms are, and they join together to create organizations. And so when you're starting a new venture, think about that. Where do you fit in this network, and how can you gain resources from that? Whether they be financial, potential customers, or even assets to help you develop your business. All right, that leads us to the entrepreneur. So we've got big opportunities, big resources, got to grow that entrepreneur. And usually what I teach my students is the one thing you have to do is build the team. Okay? So we can work on the individual, but we want to build a board of advisors with people with expertise in this area. We want to try to bring in key employees, key management to help grow the entrepreneur. But at the individual level, this is what I tell most budding entrepreneurs, is it's going to be difficult. Okay? It's not very fun to hear, but 85% of new ideas, they never reach the market. 40% of consumer products and services, they fail. Right? This is so important to me, actually, that I've created my own theory of entrepreneurship that revolves around failure. It's called positive entrepreneurial failure. And essentially all it's saying is that an entrepreneur is someone that sees the potential for failure and still takes that step forward and says, I'm going to try this anyways. And then when these failures start bombarding them, they're not someone that cowers and runs away, but they push through those failures. And that's why knowing what your motivation is so important. Because that'll help you persevere through failure. And then the tough one, and this is individual for every venture, every entrepreneur, is to realize when that venture has failed. And realize it's not you that's failed, the venture's failed. What can I learn from it and bring it into the next venture? Right? And then the cycle begins again. So, expand the entrepreneur. This is expanding you guys. 3 things I want to say. Understand the process. That's what Wofie is about. Knowledge, skills, how does the entrepreneurial process work? Understand the potential for failure. My whole undergrad career, I had entrepreneur profs tell me, do it, it's the best thing ever, go for it. And then you realize, wow, this whole area is full of failure, but that's okay, right? Plan for it, persist through it, learn from it. And then the final one, understand what motivates you. So we have motivation. We have someone like Ray Anderson who started a carpet company of all things and realized that the carpeting industry is one of the most environmentally devastating industries out there. Use all the chemicals to put into carpets, we rip them all out, we throw them in the landfill. He was the first to start with tiled carpet, where you only replace the pieces of tile that you need to. His company now, unfortunately, Ray has passed away, but his company now has Plan Zero, where they want to be 100% renewable energy and have a zero waste policy. And this company is listed on the NASDAQ with $1 billion market cap. Okay? Think about our friend Blake. How many of you have heard of Tom Shoes? Not too many. So this might be a California, North American thing. But Blake's a young lad that was walking in Argentina and noticed that the poor young children there didn't have shoes, and that created a lot of disease problems for him. Simple business concept. Every pair of shoes I sell, I'm going to give a pair away. Went back to North America, used social media, got the celebrities to buy in, and now these are the trendiest, hottest shoes among Hollywood stars. And Blake has sold over 2 million pairs of Toms, which means he's also given away 2 million pairs of shoes. And the last one I'll just mention, Professor Halliday, hiking in Nepal, and noticed that when it got dark out there, everything had to shut down because there was no light. So how can people further their education? So he came back to Canada. He was an electrical engineer, and he started working on the first white LED light, which he partnered up with a bicycle rechargeable battery station, just to provide light to the world. And now he's lit up 26,000 homes in 50 countries, affecting 1 million people, right? So figure out what your motivation is, find those opportunities and resources. So like I said, we started out with my collage, so try to think about what would your life collage look like. Try to picture that right now, what would motivate you. And so social entrepreneurship, the time is now. The opportunities are there, the resources are there, the missing thing in the middle would be you guys. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nathan, for coming here to Denmark, sharing your knowledge. It was very good, I think. And now, of course, we have the opportunity to ask some questions. And Esbjerg, does you have a question for Nathan?
Maybe. When we look on these nice presentations you made, we are having a discussion about quality down here in Esbjerg. How can you define quality when you look on social innovation?
Okay. Quality, how do you mean?
Well, quality, what is when you look at social innovation and want to develop, what should be the, how can you identify quality? Because Facebook is a quality, what is the quality of Facebook? Is that the chats, or is it that you can look for your family? But to others, it's a different quality. How can you, that might be important in many business cases, that you are actually being able to identify quality levels at your customers.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and if I'm following it correctly, I go back to how we identify opportunities and what problem are we solving with that. So I'd always link it to that. Yeah, sure, we're creating social value, but really what problem are you taking away? And that, I think, will help you identify these qualities. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfectly. Thank you.
Thank you. And Copenhagen, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. Right now our students are working with the concept of profit quite a lot, and you started mentioning that was a bit ambiguous and that it was not so easy to actually state what profit would be in a social entrepreneurship like they do. Could you give them any guidance in how to address this issue?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, there's some economists that try to financially quantify what social profit might be, and I tend to stay away from that because I don't like putting dollar values on, say, cataract surgeries versus trees or something like that. But if you can quantify the degree to the benefit you're providing, that's always useful. So, I mean, we've had some ventures come by here, and I mentioned, okay, if you have a chair that might cure backaches, how many people suffer from backaches a year? And so what scale can we help out in that area? Okay.
Thank you. And Microscopium, Klaus, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a... Thank you for an inspiring talk. It occurred to me that here in social entrepreneurship, now when we go with this paying cure profit presentation, which they have to do tomorrow, the students, I was thinking about, it is special for social entrepreneurship that we actually need some kind of double paying. If we, for instance, take your example with Tom's shoes, there's one paying people need shoes in Canada and they can buy it, afford it, and there's another paying similar to that they need shoes in, for instance, Colombia, and you will give shoes away. So to identify that double paying, I think perhaps you could relate that to the opportunity thing in your slide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and so what you're getting at, what we call the double bottom line. Some people talk about triple bottom line, where you have the environment, society, and profit. I combine environment and social value with sustainable development. So think about the double bottom line. In the last 3 examples I gave you, they were actually companies started with trying to take away the social pain and bringing in the profit model. But the other way that you can go about it is try to identify the profit contributing pain that you're going to take away, so a traditional venture, and then start trying to think about, well, what are some of the spillover effects that this business might have? And sometimes you might be pushing the envelope a bit, saying, well, is there really a social value there? So you might have to tweak the business model a bit to provide that social value.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just have a little question. Did you ever come back to Nicaragua to help the little boy?
I know. Yeah, he's probably a grown lad right now, and no, I need to get back there for sure. So thanks for reminding me. Yes.
Okay, Nathan will go out and help you with answering questions in the chat room, like you did yesterday. And I forgot to say that all the slides you're hearing here is uploaded at their homepage you probably found out. and also Nathan's slides will be there pretty soon if they're not already there. So again, thank you very much, Nathan.
Thank you.
And I just have some practical informations, probably you already know, but about the presentation tomorrow. You can use video in the PowerPoint. And again, it's because if there are any problems, it will take all of your time working on the video. So no video. And you also have to save your version in PPT, not in PPTX. That's also important, so we can use them on all computers, the computers we have. It shouldn't be a great problem. You can see it on the homepage again. Now we uploaded those information on the homepage. So just look at it at the front page. And again, you only have 5 minutes. So using a video is maybe not the best way of using your time. But it's not because of that. It's actually because of the technical problem who can be used. So sorry to say it, but it's the same rule for everybody. So I hope it's okay. But again, good luck with the rest of the day. Thank you very much.